into the space now. Um, we're so excited to move into our next session, which is a really special reading with Dimple Dhabalia. You can see her beautiful portrait and her beautiful screen spot for all of you. Dimple is an incredible storyteller, an author, writer, podcaster, educator. Her best-selling and award-winning book is now available as an audiobook soon, right? Tell Me My Story, Challenging the Narrative of Service Before Self. I got to meet Dimple through the storytelling anthology process, and I'm so grateful for her voice today and always. I know her story is going to deeply resonate with many of you, so I'll encourage you to share affirmations in the chat as Dimple's reading, and afterwards as well. I'm really excited, and thank you for being here with us today, Dimple. I'll pass it to you.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me? Okay. All right, so this is an excerpt from my story, The Unjust Burden of Honor. I came down the stairs just as the sun peeked over the horizon, bathing the living room in soft shades of pink and orange in the early morning light. My nanny was already in the kitchen, the smell of ginger and cardamom wafting up from the stove where she stood making chai. Before you go, I have something for you. She turned the knob on the stove to the lowest setting and went into the adjoining dining room. She returned a moment later, holding a coconut with a bright red satyo drawn on top in red kumkum. She was solemn as she held the fruit out to me. Carry this with you today through the wedding. She said this as she gently placed the coconut in my cupped palms. Tonight, when you and your husband are together for the first time, break it open and make sure to have him eat some of it, she said, as I took it from her. My face flushed at the mention of my wedding night. This was the last thing I'd ever expect to, or would want to, talk about with my grandmother. And remember that after today, you represent the family you're leaving behind and the family you're marrying into. It's your duty to always uphold the honor of both families and ensure they're always looked upon with reverence and respect. Understand? I felt the knots in my stomach begin to tighten as I nodded. When I think back on that moment in my life, I sometimes wonder if any of my ancestors, other women from my lineage who had been unjustly burdened with the same responsibility, were in the room bearing witness, screaming into the void that the crushing weight of this obligation wasn't mine to carry alone. Did they weep, knowing that I never stood a chance? The threats in my marriage had started 2 months after our wedding. I'd confided in my then fiance during our whirlwind courtship that I avoided conflict out of fear that the other person would leave me. So when, after a minor argument, he yelled, "I don't know why I married you. I should just divorce you," his words cut deep. But we were still at the beginning, and I was still secure and tenacious enough to stand up for myself and didn't hesitate before taking off my wedding ring and putting it on the coffee table. "Well, nobody's forcing you to be here," I said, looking him in the eye, my voice calm and steady. We were so new in our marriage that I didn't yet know that his flaring nostrils and balled up fists were not only a visceral embodiment of his frustration and anger, but would also serve as a precursor to him storming out of our apartment, driving the 7 minutes to his parents' house, and complaining to them about how I'd wronged him every time we argued. When our landline started ringing 20 minutes later, I took a deep breath and answered after the third ring. My mother-in-law's stern voice echoed in my ear. "What happened? Why did you take off your wedding ring?" Without giving me a chance to respond, she continued, "You're married now. You should never take off your wedding ring," she said, emphasizing the never. I felt the familiar flutters of anxiety in the pit of my stomach. Did he tell you why I took off the ring? Did he mention that he was threatening divorce just because we had an argument? I asked, trying to keep my voice even as heat rose up through my chest. If this was news to her, she didn't let on. Well, he shouldn't have said that, but this is how men are. Sometimes they say things without thinking. You're going to struggle in this marriage if you can't learn to let these things go. If I can't let these things go? My chest felt heavy as tears began streaming down my cheeks. I felt so alone. Reminding me that I wasn't worthy of being married to him and threatening divorce became my husband's go-to refrain over the course of our 3.5-year marriage. But his words were only one cause for my pain. I'd married into an exceptionally educated family that had lived in Canada and the United States for close to 40 years. They were the most modern Indian family I had ever known, and yet, the day I walked into their home as their new daughter-in-law, something shifted. And my mother-in-law seemed to move back to an oppressive time and place I'd only ever read about in books. Every time I considered confiding in someone, I'd remember my grandmother's words and my cheeks would flush with shame, believing that I would be betraying my family and the values they'd spent their lives teaching me to uphold. So for 3 years, I endured verbal assaults from my husband and his mother about me, my family, my friends, my career, and my body, retreating further into myself with each confrontation. Not wanting to worry my family, I bore the weight of his debts and obligations, some of which he disclosed to me just days before our wedding, in silence. As days and months turned into years and my career flourished, his own lack of professional progress fed his temper and his lack of confidence. And as his jealousy grew, so too did his need to have control of every aspect of my life. My dad's unexpected death, a little over 3 years into our marriage, shifted something in me. I no longer cared what my husband and his family, or really anyone, thought of me. So when we had another argument and he yelled, "I don't know why I married you. I should just divorce you," my palms started to tingle as a rush of blood moved through my body and a wave of exhaustion washed over me. I had nothing left to give. Though it's been almost 20 years since I made the decision to walk away from my marriage, over the years, my father-in-law's final words to me, "If you leave this marriage now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life," have haunted me at times. In those moments, my mom would sit down with me to look back at how far I'd come and to help me recognize the legacy that was born out of my courage. Walking away from my marriage had led me to walk towards a career serving some of the world's most vulnerable people. It allowed me to spend almost 2 decades living, working, and traveling in over 40 countries, where I had the privilege of interviewing thousands of asylum seekers and refugees, helping them escape their own persecution and violence to start new lives. My mom passed away in 2019, but the conversations I had with her helped me to acknowledge my numerous achievements and to see how they served as a testament to the strength I'd found within myself. I now take comfort in knowing that none of this would have been possible had I stayed in my marriage simply because I, like so many other women in my family, had been taught that it was my responsibility to uphold the family honor. I now take pride in knowing that my choice to walk away didn't just help me to let go of outdated beliefs and break a cycle of violence for myself. It helped me to create a legacy of healing for the generations of women in my lineage who came before me and for those who will come after. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Dimple. I've read your story so many times, but to get to hear it in your voice is something that is so special. And for me, what was just, I was so reminded of your strength and even what Sujata was saying this morning in the keynote of approaching our work to heal ourselves and as we're healing others. And I feel like you're such a testament to that.
Thank you.
There's so much love in the chat as I expected, and you deserve all the love in the world. I'm going to take a moment just to maybe ground us. If there's a grounding practice you all like, please do what you like. And I'm going to share what sometimes works for me, which is putting one hand on my belly and another hand above or below, and then taking a deep breath where I inhale and feel my belly inflate like a balloon, and exhale and feel it deflate like a balloon. Do it one more time. Inhale like a balloon. Exhale, deflate like a balloon. Um, there's so much power in your vulnerability, Dimple, and your sharing and your stories. We'll share, there's many, many cool things and ways to read and be involved in Dimple's work. We'll share those in the chat, and they're also linked in our handbook. Um, but I just personally want to say thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you all for the work that you're doing in the world. It's more needed than ever. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this community.
Yeah. If anybody is interested in reading Dimple's story in Sanctuaries or reading the 20 other survivor stories that are in there, many of whom have joined us throughout the summit, have led some sessions themselves. We've dropped a link in the chat. And we have a couple minutes now. We'll be joining right at the hour for our next session. So be sure to check in Whova for the appropriate link. And we'll see you all in 4 minutes.